What's up, everyone? It's Cadwin here. You can probably see right here I have this game called Puerto Rico, and it's been a few years since I played this game, but one thing I can tell you is it is a lot of fun. I don't think there's any combat in it. I mean, it's been a while since I've played, but it's more of like a mercantile merchant. You know, you're setting up your own little economic empire, if you will. And one of my buddies, when we were playing it, he was trying to produce some corn, and he had his little crops and everything set up, and a tide, for some reason, I think it was a flood. A flood came in and washed away all of his corn. And I don't think I've ever seen him that pissed off, except for a time when we played Axis and Allies back in the day, when I think it was like 5 of us, and we played from like 1 in the afternoon to 5 in the morning. That was an event in of itself. I'll see if I can remember a little bit more about that game. But yeah, check it out. If you look it up online, you'll see that it has really good reviews, and I think BoardGameGeek.com has it as its #1 game, #1 board game, which I can understand. It's an excellent game. Game of Thrones is another board game that I have. I was actually playing this before the TV show was even created. You know, it's like sounding like a hipster. Board game hipster. Maybe that'll be the name of my new channel. But so with Game of Thrones, what's really interesting about it is there are no dice. Like, you don't have to sit there and roll dice to like have a random chance of winning something. What you do is at the beginning of your turn, you lay down a bunch of tokens, and some tokens have action movements, some have defense, some allow your units to support, and there are not a whole lot of pieces. So you may have like one little knight-looking dude that it's worth like 2 guys, and then a pawn-looking piece is worth 1 guy. And there are a few ways that you can win, and there are numerous expansions out now. But the main way to win, I believe, is you try to get 8 strongholds or 8 castles in the game, or I think you can also kill everyone else. But normally it just kind of boils down to you just trying to, you know, expand your empire and getting as much territory as possible. And you have to deal with the wildlings attack, and it's a lot of fun. And the way the wildlings attack mechanic works is everyone has to pitch in a bit of gold, and there's like a certain number. Let's say it's 6. So out of all 5 players, or from 2 to 5 players that are playing, you have to meet that specific number in order to hold the wildlings at bay. So 3 of the 5 players can pitch in 2, and that'll be fine. 2 of the players pitch in nothing, so they're okay. However, if you do not meet that 6, or whatever number it is, the wildlings attack, and then I think pretty much every player loses a substantial amount of their units. It might even be as high as half. I'd have to look at the rules again. But when that happens, whoever contributed the most, I believe, loses the least amount of units, and the person that contributed the least loses the most. And it's really cool because you're competing for the Game of Thrones, you're competing for the throne chair. There's also the Raven, and there's a sword. And they're like little there's figurines that give you different bonuses. The Raven lets you reposition your unit pieces, because as you lay down your tokens, everyone agrees when they're done, and then you lift them all up at the same time, and once you lift them up, you can't move them. So with the Raven, you can move 1 piece, which is very useful, because like if your competitor is trying to support a unit, and so they're going to bring in, instead of like 2 troops, they're going to bring in 4, you can say, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. So you could switch like your attack piece to a defense, whatever you would want to do. So it's very useful. The sword provides like a +1 attack to your guys. So if you have 2 guys, it's now 3. And I believe the throne chair actually gives you the decision. It lets you decide who's going to go in what turn order. Awesome game, a lot of fun. The instructions they look a bit complex and bewildering, but once you play it, I think you'll find it to be very intuitive. And one of the best things about it to me is the fact that there are no dice. Now, I love dice. I mean, you can look on the table and see, you know, I collect dice. I love D&D. I love Risk. I love Puerto Rico. That's dice. But sometimes it's fun just to play a game that involves pure strategy and skill as opposed to randomness. I mean, there's still some random luck and stuff, but a lot of it is just skill and tactics, which is great. And you can easily teach someone how to play once you understand the mechanics of it. So check out Game of Thrones. They have a bunch of expansions now, and it's even bigger than it was back in the day because, you know, the TV show. And Pathfinder Kingmaker, it's a pretty cool card game. And to be honest, I've only played it a few times, and it was by myself because it's one of the few single-player games that you can play. So I was just trying it out. I haven't really delved into that as much as I would like.